Hi, everybody, and welcome to another author interview for the Backyard Peace Project Anthology Volume 1, Finding Peace Through Struggle. And today we are joined by the amazing Dr. Julie, who is just a phenomenal leader in the world, a phenomenal light, who really is out there pushing boundaries and giving so much power and so much courage to women to find their voice and step into their power, because for too long they've been silenced, for too long they haven't trusted themselves. And Julie's movement is all about getting women to stand up and become the best, most unleashed version of themselves possible. So, Julie, thank you so much. I know your life is incredibly full. I know you fitted me in today, and I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I love being here and thank you for letting me be part of this. I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing and I'm super excited to see it take off.
Thank you. So, Julie, your chapter is complex. And what I really love about it is that, as with many people, your journey has not been linear. And what I love is you picking up from the history of your family and taking that and moving it into motion in for your family now. And so what's interesting about it is being able to step up into your own version of that power and then sharing that power with other people. And it's really about making a choice. And sometimes we have failures. Well, we call them failures, or we do call them experience. But I love how everything that's happened in your life, you've channeled it to something better, to something bigger, to something with more vision and more grit and more courage. So can you speak to why is it that you do what you do, and what is it that you're building, and what is part of your legacy?
Yeah, that's great questions and a lot. Like I'll try and squeeze it all into something here. I think first, and you said we talked about history, is that I really feel like I was very much shaped by my upbringing. And I always say I had an amazing upbringing. I feel very blessed. And it wasn't mean that I didn't have a lot of money or crazy experiences, but I had a father and a mother and grandparents who really invested in me and at the same time gave such just observing them and watching how they live their lives and what they did really affected me. And I don't think they realized I was watching them as close as I was. Um, but I was really watching, especially my father, who's more of a quiet man, but his actions were so powerful. And so those things really shaped me. And of course, as I went along the line, I would hear people tell those stories and they have these crazy, terrible stories that would turn into something great. And someone would say, tell your story. And I'd be like, gosh, I don't really have a story. But I did have a story building inside of me, but I just didn't think that it was worthy of being told because I hadn't had some extreme thing happen in my life. But as time went on and I had these different experiences of being told that I wasn't smart enough to be in college, so I should drop out. Even though I had this full ride scholarship, being told that women don't do business in the English departments down the hall, being told that just these different things, I had some choices to make. And my choice was either to turn this into something better, right? Look at this as not a failure, but just a pivot. Or yeah, I could sit in the corner and feel sorry for myself. And I wasn't raised like that. I was raised in a way of like, listen, if it's not working, it's not working, find a better way. Figure it out, change, move, pivot. Life's not over. And so that really was like my kind of motivation as I was going through life. And of course, as I started out, obviously these were things focused on me, like what I wanted. But, becoming a mom was so transformational for me. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I used to think it was silly. She would say, "Oh, my lot in life is to be a stay-at-home mom," and I'd go, "Oh, that's so silly. It's not a tough job, mom." And I really didn't respect it or understand it until I became a mom, and then it was like such a powerful shift in my life. And so suddenly a lot of the things I was doing, I was looking at my children going like, what type of future am I building? How am I contributing to them? How am I contributing to all the young girls out there? Like, and so my pivots and the legacy that I wanted to leave really shifted in a way to look at like, what am I leaving, not just for me, before my family and my friends, and I think I may talk about in there, but one of the most powerful things was when my mom passed away. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she was a servant. She would go out and deliver packages to homeless people by herself, even though she was in a cart and disabled. She would knit hats for cancer victims. She would do fundraisers for girls to get dresses to go to prom. She did all these things, although, I didn't realize it. But when we had her memorial service, over 300 people showed up. And all these people that I thought were taking advantage of my mom, that she was wasting her time on, were all there. And it was a really powerful moment of like, who would come to my funeral? Like, who would come? And I was like, I don't think 300 people would come. And so that was like a really big shift in my life of like, what type of person I am? Who do I want to be? And I really shifted to that servant leadership mindset, that what legacy am I leaving behind? And luckily I was able to really take my mom's legacy and move that into She Talks. That's really what happened. 12 years ago was the start of really She Talks and me transforming into servant leadership, me going, because my mom spent all this time giving to people, and look at this legacy left. How do I do that? And so all of those things were factors in really moving me to where I am today. And like you said, lots of failures, some easy, some ugly cries and terrible, and moments of like, how do I move forward from here? How do I keep going? But I'm thankful because where I am today, if you'd asked me 12, 15, 20 years ago, Julie, would be here, I'd be like, you're crazy. I'm never going to be there. But everything that happened moved me here, and this is the place that I need to be. And so that's kind of how, hopefully, answering all those questions of yours of how I kind of pivoted and moved in my mindset in this case.
And what I love about your story, Julie, and you articulated it so well there, is the detachment from what other people were telling you that you were,
Hmm.
right? Or that you weren't. And I love that because I feel like, particularly women who are so saturated with the opinions of others, often conflicting opinions, right? So we can never get it right. We've all understood that now. We can't keep everybody happy, and certainly if we're keeping everybody else happy, we're certainly not keeping ourselves happy in most cases. Um, what I love is that when people have tried to define who you were or who you weren't, you decided that for yourself. You went, yeah, well, you keep that opinion and I'm going to do it anyway. Like that's how I see myself and that's how I'm going to do it. And I feel like that's such an important message, particularly for women, is to define who you are on your own terms.
Yeah. Well, and I look at this too as like we're all human, right? So for years and years, I've struggled with, looks and my body, right? I was always the tallest kid. And at a time I was the skinniest kid. And at one time I had no boobs. And guess what? I am the tallest and I got curves and now I got boobs. And I want to go back to all those boys who made fun of me when I didn't have boobs and be like, look at me now, right? Um, you look at these things as they go, right? And like you said, I would just be like, fine, whatever. Like I'm just gonna be me. And I've been really big with my daughter of like, just be you. Like, don't worry about other people, just be you. And she's really embracing that. And sometimes she's the odd duck out because she's like, no, I'm good. And I'm noticing that a lot as I've been coaching her. But I think, I definitely have moments where I look in the mirror and I'm like, I don't know. Can I be Julie today? Can I be Dr. Julie Ducharme today? Like, can I live up to that? And so I have those moments of like, I don't know. And then I have moments I'm like, let's go. I'm in. Yeah, I'm like, let's go, ladies. But I have those moments where it's like I might look at myself and be like, I'm not as young as I used to be. My body's not as nice and tight as it used to be. Like, I'm not as fast or this or this. And so I have those moments of insecurity where I think sometimes maybe I should just go along with the crowd, but I never do. But I just share that because I think that oftentimes people say to me, oh, you don't have any issues. Your life looks great. And I'm like, stop. Like, stop.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely cry in the shower. I definitely have issues because we're human and it happens and we're fallible. But I want women to know that that's okay. Moments of anxiety, depression are okay. Moments of not feeling like great or not feeling like that's all okay because you can still be you and have those moments. And I think that for a long time, I attempted to have the perfect life, the perfect family, the perfect kids, the perfectly cleaned home, the perfect. It is exhausting being something that you're not. And I finally got to a point where I was like, I can't live like this because this isn't me. And the funny thing is that when I started being me, people actually liked me. And
Mm,
and that big fear I had that people weren't going to like me if I just was me, I looked back and I thought, how silly that I thought I had to behave and be a different person in order for people to like me. And why would I want them as my friends? Why would I want them if that's how I have to be? So, I mean, I've really been a butterfly. I mean, it's been massive transformation. It's not like this happened overnight. And I think when we look at transforming ourselves, we have to really be kind because whatever we want to do doesn't happen overnight, and it's a process. And I see so many women who are like, oh, I just, I need to transform, I need to do this. And I'm like, listen, you've got time, right? Be a butterfly, be a caterpillar, let it happen. You're going to have to cocoon. You're going to have to get that point where you're going to have to break out of that and spread those wings and hope that, it's everything you think it is. So, I mean, that's really how I look at it because I just think that women are so hard on themselves. And I just like to really humanize it and say, listen, I'm human. I have those days.
And it's so important. I was on a podcast the other day about parenting, and the way that the podcast was organically going was like featuring me as the expert who had all of the answers. And I didn't like that. So I actually said, I just want to pause here and say that I, with all of my professional training and all of my experience and all of my wisdom and all of my intuition, have been in my closet on my knees weeping, thinking, am I doing the right things here? So
Yeah,
please don't think there's any such thing as a perfect parent or a perfect person or whatever. And I think
yeah,
that these stories that we're sharing are so important because it's showing the messiness of it all. It's messy,
mhm,
it's beautifully messy. It's a tapestry, right? We don't want
yeah,
neat little balls of wool. We want a tapestry, and it's going to get messy sometimes, and that's okay.
yeah,
So, in
yeah.
those moments where you chose yourself, because that's basically what you did, is to choose yourself. And if somebody of our generation, I know we're roughly the same age, that's
Mhm,
quite phenomenal, considering the generation that we grew up in. And so,
yeah.
in those moments, is it a quiet whisper that carries you through? Is there a big why that carries you through? What is it in those pivotal moments where you go, I reject your opinion of me, I reject the limitations that you've put on me, and I'm choosing something else?
Yeah. I mean, it varies. Sometimes it is a quiet whisper, and sometimes it's a very loud voice. I mean, sometimes it's me verbally going, no, I'm not doing that. I mean, I had a job where they wanted me to do something very unethical. And I was sitting in a meeting with very big named people, which I can't say. And these people were making 10 million a year off this company. They wanted to do it. And I looked at them and I said, I'm not doing that. And they said, well, then we'll fire you. And I said, go ahead and fire me. And they just didn't know what to do. They technically couldn't. I had a contract, but they didn't know what to do. And sometimes it has been just a quiet whisper of like, I think as women, our intuition is so powerful. And I know whenever I haven't listened to my intuition, I regret it. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I really have a really strong power of intuitiveness and also like just being able to see when things aren't right, see when people have bad intentions. And I've had that before too, where I've just been like, in my head, I'm just like, nope. And I've gone into rooms where I've turned around and walked out. Like I've gone in and the hair sticks up the back of my head and I go, mm-mm, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've left. I've been in rooms for a while and been like, no, no, we're not going to do it. And, and I try gracefully to do things because I don't believe in burning bridges. I don't believe in being rude. And it's only obviously if I need to protect myself in like that moment I told you. But yeah, and sometimes it feels very lonely. Like in all honesty, sometimes like building She Talks, everyone's like, that's so cute, Julie, but that's never going to be anything. Can I tell you how many people have told me that? Family members, friends, like people were just, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going. Because one day someone was like, this isn't really going to happen. And I thought to myself, okay, should I just walk away? Like, should I just walk away from it? Right. And I was sitting there and my husband was like, you are too far in to give up. He goes, you need to finish it. And he knows I never quit anything. And I was like, oh, you had to say it, didn't you? You had to say I need to finish it. And he goes, you got to finish it. And I was like, all right, I may not be the popular one. I may be the one that everyone thinks is full of whatever, but we're going to keep going. And of course, not too long after that, we suddenly became this global group, this global powerful group without, I don't want to say me trying, but it like organically happened, which made me think, this is right. I followed my intuition. And so sometimes it's a lonely road for a bit.
Mm.
But then when you meet, like we met through Karen, right? We're in this global sisterhood now. And it's like, wow, it's totally worth it. Every walk on that road by myself was absolutely worth it because now I got to the top and it's full of amazing things. So I just really look at that and think for me, it varies, but I think probably the most important thing I tell anyone is trust your intuition. We were built like that. And if you feel like it's not right, don't live in that world. It's so detrimental to you physically and mentally to live in that world that is not you. I mean, that's kind of how my brain works. So I always tell people, you got in my head, you'd be scared because it's crazy, but that's how I do it.
Beautiful. That's so great. And so to round off, I mean, that was a beautiful, powerful point. But what is the biggest gift that you would like people to take from your chapter?
Mm. It's that authentic, being your authentic self. It was a journey. I didn't find my authentic self till I was like 45, you know, and I don't want people to wait so long to really embrace what they think their true calling is. And your true calling very often is going to go against everything that your family or your friends or people believe in, and it's very difficult to step past that because we don't want to disappoint our family or our friends or be the oddball out. But I'll tell you that I am so much happier in my life since I embraced this. It was life changing for me. And I've been doing it along the line, but really, really embraced it and just went, I'm going to do it. Right. And it was funny. I was on the phone with my sister today and she said, we were talking about something and she said, does that bother you? I was like, I'm at a point in my life now. That doesn't bother me at all. And she
Yeah.
laughed. And I thought, there's so much freedom. Like the moment you're able to go, you know what? I am just going to be me. And if you don't like it, that's okay. And if you don't like it, that's okay. But I'm going to be me. There is like this freedom and this burden that just goes away. And you're like, and it's hard to explain until you've done it. But I wake up happy in the morning. When I write
Mm,
my gratitude journal, there's a long list of things I'm grateful for. When life doesn't go my way, I go, okay, well, we'll figure that out, right? Because I know that that's just another part of life. It's another pivot, it's another change, but you know what? I'm on my right path. I'm happy who I am. And that's probably one of the best gifts you can give to yourself is knowing yourself, loving yourself, and being happy being your authentic self. I think that's probably the most powerful gift you could give, and the gift I could give to all of you.
beautiful. And it's also really interesting because when you do finally just step into the wholeness of you and detach from people, how people receive that, it is very liberating. And you're not going out trying to offend everybody, but you're going out just being, this is me, I'm going to do that, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm kind, but I'm not a pushover, and I'm just going to do me, I'm just doing me, like I'm just going along
Yeah.
my business. And it's very, very powerful,
Mhm.
because you're not caught up in all of everybody else's chatter. You're
Mm.
just steady and solid. And and also, to your point, sometimes I have significant challenges in what I'm trying to build or what I'm
Mm.
building. And I just sometimes think, God, am I lucky to have these challenges? Am I lucky to
Mm.
have these problems? Right? Because it's in the process of building something magnificent. So you just got to keep
Yeah.
thinking perspective and gratitude and presence. And yes, it's challenging, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so good. And really it is because I honestly like, I mean, bad things happen. That's just part of life. But really, like, my whole mentality is shifted on how I look at life. And every time something negative happens, I kind of take a beat and I go, okay, well, it's not the end of the world. And that's maybe not what I wanted, but we're just going to keep moving forward. And it's people all the time say to me, they're like, you're so calm. Like, Julie, you're so calm all the time. Like, you're so patient. And I was like, well, it's a choice. It's a decision because when you lose loved ones, you realize life is short, so much shorter than you realize. And those petty things really don't matter anymore. They kind of go out the door. The moment, and people who are listening to this who have lost a loved one and been there by the side of the bed when they die, you realize you get a different perspective on life and you're like, wow, maybe I'll get 80 or 90 years in this life. What am I going to do in that 80 or 90 years with my life? And so I just think it's a powerful perspective. And I always usually say, I choose my battles. And I'm not going to pick petty, silly battles for that. Because sometimes someone say, are you going to jump in on this? And I'll be like, nope, not my battle. Don't care about it, right? And I think that's the thing too when you start seeing that perspective, like you said, those, I think you mentioned earlier that women have strong opinions about things, right? And I've been around women who are like, oh, look at her outfit. Oh God, she's so heavy. Oh, look at her. And I don't even do that. I usually walk by those women and I go, you are killing it. You look amazing.
Mm,
Your butt looks awesome in that thong. Like I just go down the line. I'm like, girl, you got the body, go own it, right?
mm,
Because why not, right? I mean, I'm not looking at women anymore like that because we all should be able to own it the way we want. And if I'm not owning it, like if I'm owning it, I can't be a hypocrite and be like, well, you can't be you. And it may not be my style, it may not be what I'm into, but I'm like, girl, go get that, right? And
yeah.
and it's very like relieving that I don't have to sit here and decide if it's okay for you to wear that or if it's okay for you to be that. And I very often sit with people and go, you know what? That's okay. We can agree to disagree. I respect you. I respect your opinion. I know you're not going to change it, but I have a strong opinion too, and that's okay. I hear you. You hear me? Let's move forward. And people are always just blown away. They're like, you don't want to fight about it? I'm like, nah, I don't want to fight about it because you have your opinion for a reason and I have mine, and we can respect each other. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do that with like a criminal or something like that. But I just found that shifting to that mentality opens the door for me to be more loving with people, to be more accepting with people when I put those petty things aside and go, you know what? We can be best friends and have totally different political views. And I have the best friends in the world and we have opposite political views and it doesn't even matter because we
Mm,
absolutely adore each other. And I'm like, love you. You have a different opinion. Cool. So, I mean, I think that's all part of this embracing. It's all part of, really being ourselves, and freeing ourselves. And I just think if there's so many people who could actually let go like that, right? Let go of just all those pent up things. We'd probably have a happier world that we'd be in.
totally, totally. And if we're really grounded and happy in ourselves, if we've done the work,
Mm,
there's no need to put anybody down. Like you
mm,
just reach out with empathy and compassion and love, even if it's the most difficult person in the world, because you're like, yeah, okay, I can see there's something going on with you there. You haven't evolved to that point,
yep.
and that's okay. And I wish you the most happiest and most rapid evolving, but we're not compatible right now, and that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's powerful. And I was always the hothead in my family, and I was hothead because I believed in justice. I wanted to stick up for the underdog. And if I felt like someone was attacking someone, I had kind of a righteous anger. And so it's just very comical to my family because I'm known as like kind of the protector in the family, the warrior in the family. And they'll call me about something, they'll be all riled up, and I'll be like, okay, well, what about this? And they're like, aren't you going to like threaten to beat them up or something? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to threaten to beat them up. But in my younger years, that was like my righteous anger that I had. And I really had to, like you said, do the work to figure out how do I refunnel this righteous anger, it wasn't bad anger, but I didn't know how to deal with it
Mm,
to really change it to be something that's productive, you know,
mhm,
and and I think the most important thing is people should not be afraid to do the work. There is nothing wrong with you if you need to do work. So many people, I don't know how it is in Australia, but in US, it's very looked down upon if you go to see a therapist. It's like, oh, are you crazy? Is there something wrong with you? And I'm like, there is nothing wrong with that. Do the work and don't be afraid to do it because we don't have to be perfect. We can have things and issues and work through those. So I think that's also a misnomer out there. And it's something I had to work through too. I came from a very traditional family who did not believe in those things, and they meant well, but they didn't believe in therapists or talking to people about your issues or problems. Like you just suck it up and move forward. That's not always the best policy on that.
mm. And look, it's proactive progress. That's how I look at it. It's proactive progress. You want to
Yeah.
You want to eat well, you want to sleep well, you want to hydrate, you want to make sure that your mental health is clean and your issues are dealt with, and that you have more of a choice in being leading rather than being led, and to be responding instead of reacting. Like, there's so much power in that. So
Yeah.
amazing. Look, thank you so much, Julie, for taking this time. An amazing interview, amazing chapter. I'm sure so many people are going to resonate with it. So I really appreciate you being part of this book.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.